So with this section, we're going to talk about the different groups of people that are related to our special education law: students, parents, educators, related service providers, advocates, and decision makers. Let's take a closer look at the law and students. IDEA definitions for eligibility are categorical, and they list conditions. The student's disability has to fit within one of the categories, and the student needs to need special education or related services as a result of the disability. Age limits are also present. There are some concerns about eligibility based on categories. A student must be labeled to receive services, and labels sometimes result in stigmatization or self-fulfilling prophecies. They don't necessarily help teachers find appropriate education, though. However, the 2004 amendments allow states some discretion when it comes to labeling, as long as the state has a more general system of categorization. This can lead to some gaps in coverage. Students with gifts and talents, those with chronic illness, ADHD, and some types of learning disabilities might not be covered. Also, students who might be socially maladjusted or those students with substance abuse problems can fall into a gap here. Now let's take a closer look at parents. Under IDEA, parents can be biological parents, grandparents, step-parents, surrogate parents, or guardians appointed by a court agency. So it's any person who's legally responsible for the child. Joint custody can make it difficult to know who should receive notice for special education or who has the authority to make decisions. Parents were instrumental in the initial passage of IDEA, and they've remained a strong lobbying force in maintaining the force of IDEA. Consequently, in no other aspect of education do parents have such a role with respect to notice and opportunity to object. It's important to be aware of potentials for conflicts of interest between parents and children. Some parents may want a more or less restrictive placement than is appropriate. Children, as they get older, may not want services at all due to concerns about peer reactions, while the parent may want services to continue. Let's take a look at educators. General classroom teachers, special education teachers, and teachers of specialized subjects like art, music, and vocational courses can all be involved in the education of a child with a disability. We should be aware that in some schools, the role of the general education teacher versus the special education teacher isn't clearly defined. The 2004 IDEA amendments require high-quality training and development for special education teachers. They need state certification, including certification in core subjects when those are taught, and at least a bachelor's degree. To ensure coordination and communication between general education teachers and special education teachers and other support personnel, the general education teacher may need to know more about identification of disabilities, behavior management, and instruction of students with disabilities. The 2004 No Child Left Behind statute and the 2004 amendments to IDEA affect teacher training regarding special education because it requires higher standards and requires that scientifically based instructional practices be used. Teachers of specialized subjects like art or music are often the ones most likely to have special education students, but they may often be the least prepared. Let's also consider related service providers. Administrators play key roles in special education. Folks like the special education director, the superintendent, the principal, and even the local board of education and state board of education. Also, personnel such as teachers' aides, custodial and clerical staff also need to be prepared for certain situations, like behavior problems or health issues that might occur when we have a student who has disabilities.
IDEA specifies that states must develop qualifications for related service providers, including bus drivers, therapists, social workers, counselors, school nurses, physicians, and more, and that they be appropriately certified. No Child Left Behind also imposes training and qualification requirements. It's important to consider the role of advocates in special education as well, because advocates are critical to the passage of policies as well as ensuring implementation. Students with disabilities and their parents have an ongoing relationship with the education providers. An approach that's too adversarial can make this ongoing relationship a challenge, and the child may be adversely affected as well. Advocates walk a fine line between vigorous advocacy and what we call not poisoning the well. As you work through this module, please keep thinking about the various roles played by the different decision makers.